Part 8. Fantasy, Invincible from the Holy Son of the Demon Section Author, 10 miles. Chapter 71. Outside the ancient battlefield. There's no comparison at all. Countless creatures from the forces who originally thought that Jean Invincible could fight again shook their heads and sighed. Regardless of Jean Invincible's cultivation, qualifications, or combat power, he is definitely not weak anymore. After the bloodline is unsealed, the body is integrated with the fighting spirit, and in the state of nirvana and returning to his ancestors, Jean Wuobai's strength was even comparable to that of his elders at the Suanzun realm. However, in front of Zhang Chen, the holy son of the demon sect, he could suppress it with just a wave of his hand. From beginning to end, Zhang Chen only took action twice. The first time, he pointed out in the air, and the true dragon treasure appeared, powerfully suppressing Jean Wuodi. The second time, with a slight pressure from his right hand, Jean Wuodi, who rushed out with all his strength, disappeared again. Such overwhelming combat power, not on the same level at all, completely incomparable. Somewhere in the ancient battlefield. This kind of monster is really impossible to fight for. The baby-faced Bailifixian, with the blood of the Kangxian flowing in his body, smiled bitterly after using his secret skills to see the battle on the distant divine peak. Although he was confident and his strength was not weaker than Jean Wuodi, this what's the use? His opponent is not Jean Wuodi, but Zhang Chen, who can easily suppress Jean Wuodi. When he first learned about the battle in the ancient city, Bailifixian had a hunch that it was not Zhang Chen the opponent. Now, the premonition in his heart is getting stronger. Living in the same era as this kind of monster makes him feel a great sadness. At the same time, in the sky, high in the sky, there are several figures. Hiding the breath, blending into the clouds and mist, looking down from a distance. No wonder he can cause havoc in the immortal realm and suppress the geniuses of the immortal family. Xia Yuan, who was wearing a divine robe, had his eyes slightly focused and could not hide the shock on his face. As the reincarnation of a great power, Xia Yuan has been placed high hopes by the Dian immortal sect since his birth. Xia Yuan has never put his peers in Tianyu in his eyes. Because his goal is to reach the legendary realm, not to compete with his peers. But now, Zhang Chen's appearance gave Xia Yuan a huge sense of oppression. In a world of great strife, only one person can survive. If even his peers can't suppress it, how can he aspire to the legendary realm? Judging from his gentle and calm appearance, even if he encounters the heavenly Lord realm, he is afraid that he can fight. Qing Taming, surrounded by 4 immortal auras and faintly manifesting the 4 immortal beasts, also spoke in a heavy tone. Qing Taming, who is integrated into the blood of the 4 immortal beasts, is no less arrogant than the reincarnated Xia Yuan. But this at that time, his expression was the same as Xia Yuan's, heavy and solemn. There is a sky outside the sky, and there are people outside the world. This sentence is simply not suitable for Zhang Chen. If we join forces and attack with all our strength, what's the chance of winning? Zhang Lingzi, who has an ethereal temperament, is like a fairy coming to the world. In his clear eyes, 9 colors of fairy light flicker. Zhang Qingyu, who is behind Zhang Lingzi, has strong fluctuations on his face. Her young lady has the blood of ancient immortals, and her qualifications are higher than those of immortals. It is extremely rare for people to join forces. But now, they have to put forward the proposal of joining forces with others. This naturally makes Zhang Qingyu extremely shocked. For her young lady to propose joining forces, she still doesn't have much confidence in the chance of winning. It can be seen that now Zhang Chen, the holy son of the demon sect, brought people such a sense of oppression. Xia Yuanyi, Chen Jinglei and others also had complicated eyes. They knew that Zhang Chen was not a thing in the pool during the battle at the Immortal Mountain. But they still didn't thinking that in just a few years, Zhang Chen has reached such an astonishing level. Whether it is Zhang Lingzi, Xia Yuan, or Qing Taming, they are all existences that they look up to. And now, the person they look up to, but it seems that I can only look up to Zhang Chen. How do you guys feel after watching this for so long? At this moment, a dull voice appeared in the void without any warning. How come? The moment they heard this voice, Zhang Lingzi, Xia Yuantian, and Qing Taming's pupils shrank as sharply as needles. Swish! The three of them immediately fled through the air with lightning speed. Because the owner of that plain voice turned out to be Zhang Chen. When did Zhang Chen approach them? According to the rumors, was the incarnation of the prodigy from the immortal realm suppressed? Such secret methods are too terrifying. If Zhang Chen wanted to attack, they would probably be in danger now. Wow! But just as Zhang Lingzi and the other three escaped, space chains intertwined appeared in the void. In an instant, the void within a radius of tens of thousands of miles turned into a restricted world. The holy son of the demon sect. It wasn't until this moment that Zhang Qingyu, Xia Yuanyi, Chen Jinglei and others reacted. They looked at Zhang Chen who appeared in the void in horror. Huh! Zhang Chen waved his sleeves without even looking at them. Tao Fa Po Kong appeared. Before Zhang Qingyu and the others had time to react, they were directly blasted out of the forbidden area of space. At Zhang Chen's current situation, the origins and luck of Zhang Qingyu and the others were no longer useful to him. Even if they were suppressed and killed looting, the rewards that appear in the system are no longer dispensable. Zhang Chen is not surprised by this. As his cultivation becomes stronger, the Tianyuan system seems to be changing accordingly. Naturally, Tianyuan system the requirements of the luck system for origin and luck are getting higher and higher. You should also see the gap between you and me. How about it, do you want to follow me? After sealing the world, Zhang Chen was not in a hurry to take action. He looked at Zhang Lingzi, Xia Yuantian, and Qing Taming who were waiting for him with a calm expression. Follow. After hearing Zhang Chen's words, Zhang Lingzi and the three of them all came back to their senses. No wonder that with Zhang Chen's strength, he could easily suppress Zhang Wudi, but he never made a fatal move. It seems that Zhang Chen should also fight against Zhang Wudi. Like them, I want to be a follower. The talent of the Holy Son is extremely rare in all ages. To be able to follow him should be regarded as a huge contempt. However, we all bear the inheritance of Taoism, so please forgive us for not being able to follow. After pondering for a moment, Zhang Lingzi and the other three looked at each other and replied like this. What is a follower? To put it bluntly, it is a follower, with a servant-like status. Even though Zhang Chen's qualifications are astonishing, but with them with your identity, how can you become a follower of others? That's a pity. If you don't want to surrender, then go die. When Zhang Chen saw this, he was too lazy to talk nonsense. With the thought, three shocking visions appeared. A chaotic demon ape with 3 heads and 6 arms, carrying a blood-stained fairy stick. An ancient god with feet in purgatory and a body integrated with the stars. Elephant. An ancient kunpeng with wings covering the sky, surrounded by yin and yang chaos. It is the kunpeng treasure technique, the divine elephant's prison suppressing power, the 8-9 heavenly skills. Boom. Seeing Zhang Chen perform the killing technique, Zhang Lingzi and the other two people's expressions changed drastically. Immediately take action with all his strength. Now Zhang Chen himself is suppressing Zhang Wudi. Together, they should have a great chance to deal with Zhang Chen's incarnation. Immediately, a violent and destructive war broke out in this world, and said the law is shaking the sky. Outside the ancient battlefield, the powerful men of Wengxian Tower, 4 Spirits Immortal Clan, and Dian Immortal Sect all have solemn expressions, and even hold their breaths. Zhang Lingzi, Qing Taming, and Xia Yuantian, but their Taoism the strongest genius. If something unexpected happened because of this, it would be enough to make their hearts ache to the point of bleeding. In addition to these 3 great lineages, the ancient creatures in Kangxian Ridge also had solemn eyes. Because Bailey Fixian was also stared at by Zhang Chen on. Fantasy, Invincible from the Holy Son of the Demon Section author, 10 miles. Chapter 72. Ancient Battlefield. When Bailey Fixian saw that Zhang Lingzi and the others were banned by Zhang Chen's incarnation, he immediately wanted to escape. As far as he knew, the weird secret method of incarnation practiced by Zhang Chen could produce 3 incarnations. But just as he took action, his body suddenly froze. Bloodline of the Remnant Immortal. Because in the void, Zhang Chen had appeared there at some point, looking at him with a little interest. I have long heard that the Holy Son is a genius, and when I saw him today, the rumors were indeed true. Compared with the 3 Zhang Lingzi who were facing formidable enemies, Bailey Fixian quickly relaxed and said with a clean smile on his face. It seems that you have already made your choice. Zhang Chen smiled when he saw Bailey Fixian's appearance. When he was blocked, he didn't run away, and he didn't show any hostility. This attitude was already quite obvious. As the saying goes, a good bird chooses a tree to roost in and catches up with the Holy Sun. For me, it is a great opportunity. However, after all, I am also a descendant of Kangxianling. No matter what, I have to fight to give an explanation to my clan. Bailey Fixian said, with the mysterious and terrifying immortal blood aura surging in his body. There is no doubt that Bailey Fixian has activated the blood of the residual immortal at this time. At this moment, with Bailey Fixian as the center, a realm of immortality appeared faintly. The laws of heaven and earth in this realm were all controlled by Bailey Fixian, like an invincible realm. Boom. When Zhang Chen saw this, he didn't say much and slapped out with a palm. There is a meaning of heaven Deo. Along with it, 6 paths of reincarnation evolved, covering the entire world. Bang. The next moment, the Bailey Fixian who used the blood of the residual immortal to develop the realm of immortality immediately vomited blood and flew away. In the face of absolute strength, any bloodline or secret method would be destroyed. All in vain, all vain. Kangxianling, the 359th generation descendant, Bailey Fixian, pays homage to the young master. After feeling the huge gap that was like a chasm and insurmountable, the arrogance in Bailey Fixian's heart completely disappeared and he saluted respectfully. Although he knew before that he could not be Zhang Chen's opponent. But after fighting in person, only then did Bailey Fixian understand how big the gap between him and Zhang Chen was. For the first time, Bailey Fixian had weak thoughts about his own residual immortal bloodline. No way. Can the descendant of Kangxianling become someone else's follower so easily? This. Naturally, following Bailey Fixian caused a huge uproar in the outside world. In their opinion, Bailey Fixian should be like Zhang Lingzi and the other 2, fighting hard. After all, Bailey Fixian has the blood of the broken immortal flowing in his body, and he is expected to reach the top in the future. Even the older creatures in Kangxian Ridge have strange expressions on their faces. Zhang Chen's strength is indeed terrifying and astonishing. But Bailey Fixian's combat power is definitely more than this. If that's all, then even if you have Kangxian bloodline, you won't be able to become the successor of Kangxian Ridge. Could this kid have surrendered to the Taisha demon sect long ago? Call out. Countless creatures in the outside world thought that Bailey Fixian was surrendering, but they couldn't hide their surprise. In the ancient battlefield, a bright fairy light suddenly fell from the sky, and the heavens and laws were turbulent. The place where the beam of fairy light landed was exactly where Zhan Wudi was suppressed by Zhang Chen like he was in the abyss of the earth. The ancient war dragon derived from Zhang Chen was directly penetrated by the immortal light. After that, Zhan Wudi, who was covered in blood and had a vague aura, was swept away by the fairy light. Is that, the ancient heaven took action? It seems that Zhan Wudi's qualifications are extremely attractive even to the ancient heaven. This is normal. If Taisha Devil hadn't been born out of nowhere, the successor of Tiangong in this life would have to be Zhan Invincible. The appearance of that fairy light caused many outsiders to exclaim. Looking at the entire ancient battlefield, the only ones who are qualified to intervene in the battle are the ancient heavens. Other Taoist traditions, even those ancient giants, cannot interfere in the ancient battlefield. The restriction deployed by the ancient heavenly court on the ancient battlefield is no joke. On the top of the divine peak, Zhang Chen stood calmly. Zhang Chen was not very surprised by the ancient heavenly court's action. The ancient heavenly court would be born in every prosperous age. Select and train outstanding geniuses to enhance the top combat power of the Tianyu. Naturally, the ancient Tianting will not miss the Tianjiao at the level of Zhan Invincible. To a certain extent, the ancient Tianting is the only one to enhance the Tianyu. The Taoism whose goal is combat power. Thinking of this, Zhang Chen's expression suddenly moved slightly, and he thought of Zhang Lingzi and the other three. In terms of potential, the three Zhang Lingzis are enough to compete with Zhan Wudi. Since Zhan Wudi was rescued by Gu Tianting, then Gu Tianting Heavenly Court may also interfere with Zhang Lingzi and the others. In this case, he will not be able to plunder the original destiny. Thinking of this, Zhang Chen's incarnation is preparing to use all his strength to kill Zhang Lingzi and the other three people. But the situation was just as Zhang Chen expected. When Zhang Lingzi and the other three were able to barely block Zhang Chen's killing technique, the ancient heaven did not appear. Now that Zhang Chen is showing his true strength, it means that the immortal light has fallen again. Zhang Chen could only watch helplessly as Zhang Lingzi and the other three were rescued. The battle for the successor to heaven is coming to an end. Outside the ancient battlefield, Wang Xianlu and other Taoists also had this thought when they breathed a sigh of relief. Since Zhan Invincible, Zhang Lingzi, and other top successors must be rescued by ancient heavenly court in order to survive, then this battle for the heavenly palace successors, naturally there is no need to continue. Boom! As expected. After those fairy lights took Zhang Lingzi and the others away, a deafening roar came from the nine heavens. It was vast and boundless, with no end in sight. The ancient heaven revealed a mysterious corner. After that, the void trembled. A majestic ancient immortal door opened, and billions of auspicious lights emerged. Those auspicious lights fell and moved around Zhang Chen. There were the mysterious ancient fairy sound resounded loudly and moved people's hearts. Vaguely, above Zhang Chen's head, a small imprint of the ancient heaven appeared. This sign meant that Zhang Chen had officially become the official member of the ancient heaven. Successor. Phew. Then, above the nine heavens, there was innate purple energy, scattered throughout the ancient battlefield. In that innate purple energy, a mysterious and unpredictable river of time appeared. An immortal ancient fairy garden loomed in the river of time. There are mysterious and unpredictable Taoist immortal sounds spreading. Those immortal sounds seem to contain the most original Taoist insights in the world, giving people a sense of enlightenment. All the young creatures in the ancient battlefield have been blessed and are meditating one after another. Enlightenment. Even monsters such as Bailey Fixian did not miss this opportunity, and their minds merged into the world. It can be said that in the entire ancient battlefield, Zhang Chen was the only one standing with a calm expression. For him who has gained the understanding of the origin of the immortal way, the innate purple energy and the sound of the avenue are no longer of much use. However, Zhang Chen's eyes were looking at the looming ancient fairy court in the long river of time. Inexplicably, Zhang Chen always felt that in the ancient immortal courtyard, there seemed to be eyes looking at him. But those eyes seemed to be projected from the ancient times and did not belong to this era. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, Invincible from the Holy Son of the Demon Section author, 10 Miles. Chapter 73. Ancient Heaven. That is. After casually rescuing Zhan Wudi and 4 others into the ancient heaven, the Lord of the Heavenly Court looked at the vision of the ancient battlefield, and his eyes couldn't help but stagnate. Ancient, immortal court. The lazy-looking young man's body trembled, and he stared at the looming ancient fairy garden. The original lazy expression was replaced by a touch of unconcealable shock. Taisha Demon Sect. It seems that there is no need to guess, Zhang Chen is indeed the son of destiny as mentioned by the ancestor. The eyes of the nine-demon old man were condensed to one point, and he stared at the ancient immortal courtyard very seriously. There is no doubt that the ancient immortal courtyard that has manifested over time definitely appeared because of Zhang Chen. The world will boil again. The eight-fingered demon boy opened his mouth slightly, and after a while, he slowly came back to his senses. The ancient immortal court was manifested because of Zhang Chen. This incident was much more shocking than Zhang Chen's wreaking havoc in the immortal realm. Fairyland. Guxianting. In the Changsheng immortal's house, Xian Wuxian's eyes suddenly froze and he murmured to himself. There was disbelief in his voice. It seemed that he saw something that should never appear. In fact, the ancient immortal court should not appear in the heaven realm. Because the ancient immortal court is the oldest orthodoxy that once ruled the immortal realm before the ancient immortal era. At the end of the immortal era, after the birth of the most ancient immortal, the ancient immortal court was born. It can be said that the first ancient immortals all came from the ancient immortal court. It is conceivable that the original ancient immortal court had such a glorious and world-famous status. But then, I don't know what happened. The ancient fairy court has become a ruin, traveling in the endless void, and only occasionally emerges. His eldest brother, Xian Wudao, is currently exploring the inheritance of the ancient immortal court in the ruins of the manifested ancient immortal court. And now, the ancient immortal court has actually appeared in the heavens because of Zhang Chen? This kind of thing naturally makes people from the immortal family find it unbelievable. First, he received the inheritance from the ancient immortal in the ancient immortal city, and now the ancient immortal court appears in the world. Could this descendant of Taisha demon sect be a creature of my fairyland? Of course it's not just the immortal family who are surprised and shocked. Top Taoist traditions such as Immortal Demon Ridge, Yin Yang Immortal Island, Wuji Immortal Sect, Lake of the Dead, Sea of Reincarnation, etc. are also shocking that they cannot be believed. Whether it is the ancient immortal ancient city, the immortal heritage is still the ancient immortal court that once ruled the 9 heavens and 10 earths. This is an opportunity for their immortal domain. Now, Zhang Chen, a junior from the heaven domain, has triggered these 2 world-shattering opportunities one after another? How can this not let the immortal domain Taoism fail? Shocked. You know, for countless years, they in the immortal realm have tried their best, but there is no way to get a glimpse of the ancient immortal inheritance and the opportunity of the ancient immortal court. This Taisha demon son. In the sea of samsara, the handsome creature's eyes narrowed slightly, and for the first time there was a little fear in his eyes. Obviously, he who didn't pay much attention to Zhang Chen originally felt threatened by Zhang Chen. No matter what the cultivation level is, no matter what the combat power is. Just because Zhang Chen can manifest the ancient immortal courtyard is enough to prove how terrifying Zhang Chen is. 5th Ancestral Land. Such an unparalleled genius should become the successor of my ancestral land. I'm afraid Taisha demon sect will not agree easily. He is a living being from my ancestral land, why does he need the consent of Taisha demon sect? It is better to inform the ancient Zhang clan about this matter first, and then decide how to act. Indeed, no matter what, this son is a member of the ancient Zhang clan, and blood is thicker than water. The 3 figures of demonic light that appeared on the altar were all extremely excited. The excitement was much stronger than when he saw Zhang Chen's chaotic divine body transforming and easily suppressing Zhan Invincible. The Taoist traditions of all heavens and realms don't know why the ancient immortal court was destroyed. But the 9 ancestral lands are clearly known. Since Zhang Chen can induce the manifestation of the ancient immortal court, it is very likely that he can obtain the inheritance of the ancient immortal court. By then, Zhang Chen is expected to return to the peak of the ancient immortal courtyard. You know, when the ancient immortal court was at its peak, even the 9 ancestral lands were respected by it. Therefore, before that, Zhang Chen must be allowed to become the successor of their ancestral land. Even if they forcefully pull him, Zhang Chen and their ancestral land must be tied to the same rope. How could such a monster and genius be allowed to monopolize Tianyu? Ancient battlefield. Buzz. When Zhang Chen manifested the ancient eyes and gained insight into the barrier of the ancient fairy court, the looming ancient fairy court seemed to be touched, and there was a mysterious trembling sound. After that, a crystal clear mysterious fairy light fell from the sky and fell into the center of Zhang Chen's eyebrows. Cut. At this moment, Zhang Chen's mind was shaken, and he felt a vastness, which seemed to be a monstrous murderous intention from the mythical era. Then, a bright fairy sword spanned the heaven and the earth, splitting the 9 heavens, and the killing power was boundless. The mysterious fairy light falling into the center of the eyebrows is a supreme killing secret technique in the ancient fairy court. It is called the technique of killing immortals. As the name suggests, this technique can kill immortals. It can even be said that this is a special technique to kill immortals. The supreme killing technique of immortality. After this technique was preached to Zhang Chen, the looming ancient immortal court gradually disappeared. Then, the long river of time emerging from the void also turned into light spots and dispersed. The ancient battlefield on, gradually returning to its former peace. Come to Heavenly Palace. After seeing Zhang Chen come back to his senses, there was a boundless fairy road laid out in the majestic fairy gate. Zhang Chen didn't hesitate when he heard that. He walked on the boundless fairy road and entered the majestic fairy gate. Swish. The moment he crossed the fairy gate, Zhang Chen clearly sensed that a space teleportation method appeared. The next moment, Zhang Chen appeared in a glorious fairy palace as big as an ancient star. In the fairy palace, the pillars filled with immortal patterns are like fairy mountains reaching the sky, rising into the sky with no end in sight. If you count them carefully, there are more than 99,000 pillars, implying the highest number in the world. Right in front of the immortal palace, there is actually an ancient bronze coffin as big as 10,000 feet. The ancient coffin is stained with eternal immortal blood, exuding endless immortal power. But in the immortal blood, there are still strands of strange darkness emerging, which makes people heart palpitations. Double pupils appeared in Zhang Chen's eyes, and he looked intently. An indescribable and strange evil force emerged from the darkness. This is, what kind of power? Zhang Chen's heart was slightly shaken, and there was a chill all over his body. Your master should have told you about the strange source and the evil clan outside the world. At this time, a vast and ethereal voice appeared. The Lord of Heaven, who was surrounded by mysterious imperial light and whose appearance could not be seen clearly, appeared out of the air. Is this darkness the source of strangeness and the power of evil tribes outside the world? Zhang Chen came back to his senses and looked at the Lord of Heaven. His eyes were filled with shock. Although it was extremely weak, the strange and evil power made his heart feel endlessly cold. It was a kind of thing that came from the depths of his soul. Everywhere, I can't suppress the feeling of terror. So far, Zhang Chen has never experienced such a strong and terrifying feeling. This is one of the strange sources, the dark power of the underworld. The Lord of Heaven said. One of the sources, the underworld. So, there are several sources of strangeness. Zhang Chen was shocked again. He thought that the source of strangeness and the evil clan outside the world were equivalent to 2 forbidden areas. But now it seems that there is more than one source of strangeness. Fantasy, Invincible from the Holy Son of the Demon Section Author, 10 miles. Chapter 74. Currently, it is known that there are 3 strange sources that have been sealed. The Lord of Heaven nodded and said, 3 strange sources. When Zhang Chen heard this, he was even more frightened. There are 3 known sources of strangeness, so how many are unknown? No wonder the mythical age that reached its peak in ancient times was completely destroyed. Then this ancient coffin. After that, Zhang Chen looked at the ancient bronze coffin. According to his master, whether it is the source of the strangeness or the evil clan outside the world, it has become a legend. Although there are signs of recovery now, no one can confirm it, and it is sealed in an unknown place. This shows that since the fall of the mythical age, the source of strangeness and the evil clan outside the world have never appeared again. So where did this ancient bronze coffin stained with strange darkness come from? This is my heavenly ancestor, brought from the ruined land. There is probably an ancient creature from the mythical age sealed inside. Regarding Zhang Chen's problem, the Lord of Heaven did not hide anything. After seeing Zhang Chen appear in the ancient immortal court, the Lord of Heaven valued Zhang Chen even more. Ancient creatures from the age of mythology. Zhang Chen blinked. This answer was really beyond his expectation. He had indeed guessed before that this ancient bronze coffin might be an ancient relic from the mythical era. But he never thought that this ancient bronze coffin might be an ancient relic from the mythical era. Inside the coffin, there will be sealed ancient creatures from the mythical age. All souls in the world, even those who have set foot in the supreme realm, will eventually reach their end. And how long has it been since the mythical age? This is simply impossible to consider. At present, in the universe, the known eras are the immortal era, the ancient immortal era, the ancient era, the ancient era, and the present. From the perspective of complete eras, there are only 4 eras in the universe so far, which is less than the 5th era. Even though there are not many eras, in terms of years, each era is more than hundreds of millions of years. Because the end and beginning of an era are not fixed in time. They are based on a certain big events come as the end or the beginning of an era. For example, the Wuxian era. Because of the birth of the ancient immortal, the immortal Dao realm was created. The Wuxian era ended and the immortal ancient era began. In the same way, since the immortal ancient turmoil, all heavens and realms have their vitality was severely damaged, and countless supreme beings disappeared from the world. Since then, the immortal ancient has gradually come to an end. Therefore, almost no living beings can survive those long epochs. Even if they keep self-proclaimed and prevent the source of life from passing away, it is impossible. From the age of mythology, it has been sealed and alive until now. Unless, the ancient creature in this ancient bronze coffin has stepped into the legendary realm. But if it really has stepped into the legendary realm, why bother to seal itself in it? According to ancient books record that the legendary realm is beyond the 5 elements and is not in chaos. It is a realm that is not subject to the laws of life and death of heaven and earth, and can truly live forever. The Changsheng immortal family is now trying to open the ancient Yuan fairyland, and wants to force you to enter the fairyland to fight. In the ancient Yuan fairyland, there are hidden opportunities related to the ancient immortal city, which will be good for you. After that, the Lord of the Heavenly Court changed the topic and talked about the immortal family of immortality. The meaning of his words was already quite obvious. He hoped that Zhang Chen would go to the ancient Yuan fairyland. The immortal family has no way to go to the ancient Yuan fairyland. Zhang Chen became interested after hearing this. With his current strength, looking at the heaven realm, no one among his peers can match him. Naturally, Zhang Chen's eyes are looking at the immortal realm and the 9 ancestral lands. There are very few Taoist heirs from other major realms who are qualified to challenge him. After all, among the 10 great realms, the foundation of the heaven realm is second only to that of the immortal realm. According to the news, Xian Wudao will not go. However, in this world of immortal realm, in addition to immortal Wudao, there are also several ancient Taoist traditions, all of which have shocking successors. Although the qualifications of those successors of Taoism are not as good as those of Xian Wudao, they are not much different, so they should not be careless. Obviously, the Lord of Heaven has already inquired about the younger generation in the immortal realm and reminded them. The stronger it is, the more interesting it is. A smile appeared on Zhang Chen's face. The stronger the qualifications, the stronger the origin and luck. This is naturally a good thing for Zhang Chen. Only by continuously plundering the origin and luck can he snowball and become crazy. Strong. Now that the crisis is looming, Zhang Chen must become strong as soon as possible in order to have enough strength to protect himself in the future and even suppress all unrest. By the way, when I was in the ancient battlefield, a fairy garden appeared. After finishing his words, Zhang Chen thought of the mysterious fairy court that taught him the art of killing immortals. The mysterious fairy court seems to be somewhat similar in appearance to the ancient heavenly court, and it manifested itself in the ancient battlefield. This naturally made Zhang Chen suspect that the ancient fairy court was related to the ancient heaven court. That is the ancient fairy court in the fairyland and has nothing to do with our heavenly court. The Lord of the heavenly court knew what Zhang Chen wanted to ask, so he told Zhang Chen in detail about the situation in the ancient immortal courtyard. So, the ancient immortal inheritance in immortal old city probably came from the ancient immortal court. After hearing this, Zhang Chen asked. It can only be said that the first ancient immortals in the immortal realm all came out of the ancient immortal court. As for the ancient immortal inheritance in the ancient city, it is impossible to find out whether it has anything to do with the ancient immortal court. But no matter what, since you have allowed the ancient immortal court to manifest, and you have obtained the immortal court's immortal techniques, the people in the immortal realm will definitely keep an eye on you. The Lord of Heaven said. Target me? That's just right, it saves me having to go find them. Zhang Chen understood, his expression was calm, and he didn't care that he was being targeted by the immortal realm. The opening of Gu Yuan Wonderland should take some time. I will take you to the Tao Pond for baptism first. The Lord of Heaven seemed to smile, but he didn't think Zhang Chen's words were too arrogant. However, just in case, the Lord of Heaven still felt that Zhang Chen's cultivation needed to be further improved. Immortal, the domain has been standing at the top of the world since ancient times, and no one knows what shocking methods are hidden. The Lord of Heaven does not want to think that Zhang Chen will be defeated in the ancient Yuan fairyland. Oh! The Lord of Heaven's immortal robe, with a wave of his hand, things turned around and appeared in a vast star field. In the center of that star field, there was an ancient Tao Pond shrouded in bright stars, lingering with fairy spirit. Even vaguely, there was an extremely mysterious Dao Pond. The sound emerged from the ancient Dao pool. The sounds of the Dao were exactly the same as the supreme Dao sounds that had descended on the ancient battlefield. Obviously, those previous sounds of the Dao that had enlightened countless geniuses in the Tianyu came from this place. Came from an ancient Taoist pool. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. But at this moment, figures with astonishing momentum emerged from the void. There were 10 people in total, all young men and women, with impressive aura and extraordinary temperament. They were like dragons and phoenixes among people. More, the important thing is that their cultivation levels have all reached the late stage of the supreme realm. It won't be long before they can reach the Suanzun realm. If this scene spreads, I don't know how many forces will be shocked. You know, even the top Taoist traditions in the Tianyu realm, the supreme geniuses are generally only achieved by their respective descendants. Now, in the ancient heaven, 10 young supremes appear at one time. How can this not be shocking? It can also be seen from this that the foundation of the ancient heaven is far away. It is not comparable to other traditions in the Tianyu. At the very least, the young geniuses are enough to directly look down upon the entire Tianyu. Fantasy, Invincible from the Holy Son of the Demon Section. Author, 10 miles. Chapter 75. Emperor. After the top 10 geniuses arrived, they respectfully saluted the Lord of Heaven. I forgot to mention, these are the top 10 sequences in this life of heaven, and they are all expected to compete for the position of successor. According to the rules left by the ancestors of heaven, they are all qualified to challenge you. If you lose, I will follow you from now on. If you win, you will replace you and become the heir to heaven. When the Lord of the heavenly court saw this, he explained to Zhang Chen. In every prosperous age, before preparing to enter the world, the ancient heavenly court would also train talented disciples. If there are not enough evil people in the heavenly domain, the successor position will be choose from the top 10 sequences. Swish, swish, swish. When Zhang Chen heard this, with the thought in his mind, 3 lines of pure chi rose into the sky from above his head, and evolved into 3 incarnations. It was one chi that transformed into 3 pure beings. The atmosphere of the mythical age. There was a strange color flickering in the deep eyes of the Lord of Heaven. From Zhang Chen's use of one chi to transform 3 purities, he felt the aura of time that did not belong to this era. The mysterious aura that contains the eternity of time is vaguely similar to the ancient bronze coffin. Could it be that this amazing secret technique practiced by Zhang Chen was handed down from the age of mythology? Whoever of you can defeat my incarnation, I will give up the position of heir to the heaven to you. Seeing the top 10 sequences, Zhang Chen looked a little puzzled and walked towards the Dao pond. Arrogant. The top 10 geniuses all have anger in their eyes. They are all geniuses cultivated by the ancient heavenly court. They are definitely among the top in terms of qualifications and strength. But now, Zhang Chen actually wants to suppress them with his incarnation? This is already the case. Not arrogant, but humiliating them. Boom. Boom. Immediately, an unstoppable sequence of geniuses rushed out with vast Taoist methods. The sky-shaking dragon roared. Chaos covered the sky. The true dragon treasure technique and Kunpeng's treasure technique shot out from the sky, knocking the 2 serial geniuses who were killed directly into vomiting blood. As soon as they met, the 2 supreme sequence geniuses of the late stage were suppressed. This naturally made the other 8, the originally angry sequence geniuses, felt cold all over and changed their expressions in horror. Only now did they understand why the emperor valued Zhang Chen so much. You guys, come together. The 3 incarnations of Zhang Chen stood proudly and looked calmly at the 8 geniuses. Boom. The 8 geniuses looked at each other and immediately went all out. They were geniuses cultivated by the ancient heaven, so naturally you can't just give in defeat so easily. Sure enough, they are not on the same line. The Lord of Heaven looked at the battle calmly. No need to guess at the outcome, he knew that the geniuses of the ancient heaven would be as invincible as Qing Taming and others, easily suppressed by Zhang Chen. It can be said that no matter Zhang Chen, both his qualifications and his strength have surpassed them by a level. In this life, Zhang Chen is unquestionable, arrogant, and unparalleled. At this time, Zhang Chen's body has already arrived in the ancient Taoist pond. In the center of the Dao pond, there is a broken ancient talisman, which seems to be the interweaving of the principles of heaven and earth. Thousands of strands of Dao law overflow from the broken ancient talisman, filling the entire Dao pond. The origin of Taoism. Zhang Chen stepped in. In that broken ancient talisman, the laws of the Great Avenue spilled out, containing the pure origin of the Great Avenue. This kind of origin is different from the origin of immortal magic he got when he was in the ancient city. The origin of the immortal law in the ancient immortal city is the origin and inheritance of the immortal Dao system, which covers all the major realms of cultivation from the 8 mortal realms to the immortal Dao realm. But the origin of the great avenues in front of us contains the ultimate origin of all the ways in the heavens. Any secret method, ancient skill, and cultivation system in the world are inseparable from the understanding of the laws of heaven and earth. The more advanced you practice, the more profound your understanding of Taoism will be. In a word, the journey of cultivation is to continuously explore the Tao and ultimately transcend the Tao. Zhang Chen never expected that there would be such a shocking treasure in the ancient heaven. No wonder his master values the position of heir to the heavenly court so much. Buzz buzz. As Zhang Chen stepped in, the somewhat incomplete ancient talisman suddenly started to tremble. After that, all the Dao laws in the entire Dao pond swarmed towards Zhang Chen. In the blink of an eye, a whirlpool of Taoism appeared with Zhang Chen as the center. System. Zhang Chen was communicating with the system while running the Six Paths Ancient Heaven technique. Logically speaking, with such a pure source of Taoism, it is impossible for the system to not respond. The source is defective and cannot be absorbed. After a moment, the clear voice of the system sounded in Zhang Chen's Sea of Souls. Is the origin lacking? Zhang Chen was slightly startled and looked at the incomplete ancient talisman in the Dao pond. Are the origins of these Dao laws incomplete? Why couldn't he sense it? Of course, Zhang Chen didn't make any more corrections on this matter. Tang. Since the system cannot absorb it, he has to practice wholeheartedly. When practicing, there is billowing chaos spreading out, constantly integrating the origins of Taoism. It is the evolution of the chaotic world. For the chaotic world, these implications the original law of the great Dao is a great tonic. When Zhang Chen entered the ancient heaven and experienced the baptism of the Dao pool, there was a world-shattering uproar in the heavens and the realms. Originally, all the heavens and realms just wanted to see that big is Zhang Chen in Naoxian ancient city really as scary as the rumors say? But they didn't expect that they saw a scene that was even more shocking. Not only did Zhang Chen transform into a chaotic divine body, but his combat power was enough to easily suppress the Suanzun level. More importantly, the ancient immortal court in the immortal domain actually manifested because of Zhang Chen. The ancient immortal court appeared because of a certain person, which has never appeared in the history of the immortal domain. Therefore, it is very possible for Zhang Chen to get the ancient immortal court inheritance. Various rumors that will carry the fate of the ancient immortal court are spreading rapidly. The emergence of the ancient immortal court has made the various major lineages in the immortal domain reach a rare agreement. That is, Zhang Chen's growth must be curbed. Zhang Chen now has two giants, the Taisha demon sect and the ancient heavenly court, behind him. If he becomes the descendant of the ancient immortal court again, his background will be terrible. Although the ancient immortal court has long since disappeared, but this does not mean that the creatures in the ancient immortal court in the past are extinct. Ancient immortals who can cross the shackles of heaven and earth and create the realm of immortality in an era when it is impossible to become immortals will not die so easily. If Zhang Chen will those ancient creatures who are hiding in various places in the heavens gather together, the combat power of that day domain is very likely to surpass the immortal domain in one fell swoop and become the strongest in all the heavens. This pair of immortal domains who have always been at the top of the world, it is naturally intolerable. Therefore, after reaching an agreement, the top Taoist traditions of the 9 heavens and 10 earths of the immortal realm joined forces to open the ancient Yuan fairyland again. Originally, with the restrictions of the ancient Yuan fairyland, even the immortal family, it would take more than half a year to open. However, with the joint efforts of the major Taoists in the immortal realm, in just 2 months, the ancient Yuan immortal realm was forcibly opened again. This news was also like a tornado, and it was extremely fast. Sweeping open, the 10 directions shook, and the 9 ancestral lands also attracted attention. All the Taoist systems in the heavens and all the domains knew that the immortal realm opened the ancient Yuan immortal realm in order to deal with Zhang Chen. Naturally, for such a major event, all the Taoist systems in the world, you just won't miss it. In other words, Zhang Chen's every move now attracts the attention of all the worlds. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, Invincible from the Holy Son of the Demon Section author, 10 miles. Chapter 76. Fairyland. Immortal Family. Wuxian, on this trip to Gu Yuan Fairyland, you have only one goal, and that is to destroy Taisha Demon Son by any means. An old man with white beard and hair, wearing an immortal robe, and an immortal spirit looked at Xian Wuxian with great awe. While speaking, the ancestor of the immortal robe handed an ancient immortal talisman to Xian Wuxian. This is. The moment he saw the immortal talisman, Xian Wuxian's eyes shrank sharply, with a horrified look on his face, as if he didn't dare to take the ancient talisman. This matter was started by you, and it should be ended by you. Seeing this, the old man in immortal robe spoke again, with a tone that said he could not refuse. Yes. Xian Wuxian took a deep breath, knowing that the family had made a decision and he could not change it. Fairyland. Sea of Reincarnation. This time the ancient Yuan Fairyland is opened, and I am definitely not the only one who is eyeing the Taoism of Taisha Demonzi. When you go to Gu Yuan Fairyland this time, you need to be careful and don't make a wedding dress for others. A fairy spirit with an ethereal body appeared from the void, looking at the handsome creature. The affairs of the ancient immortal court are of great concern. In addition to the immortal family, immortal demon ridge, yin-yang immortal island and other forces, there will also be other hidden forces. Shi Daotong appeared. Therefore, the timing of taking action against Zhang Chen must be well controlled. Fortunately, Zhang Chen was suppressed through hard work, but in the end, someone took advantage of him. Will Taisha Demon Sect and Ancient Heavenly Court allow Taisha Demon Son to go to Ancient Yuan Fairyland? Gu Luoxia doesn't care about other people in the immortal realm. As long as Xian Wudao doesn't go, he has no fear of other descendants of the immortal realm. Even the one in the Lake of the Dead, he has the confidence to suppress him. In contrast, he is more worried about whether Zhang Chen will go to the Ancient Yuan Fairyland. Although the Ancient Yuan Fairyland contains extraordinary opportunities, it should not be very attractive to the Taisha Demon Sect. After all, whether it is the Taisha Demon Sect or the Taisha Demon Sect, the ancient heavens all have astonishing heritage. If the descendant of the demon sect was not strong, he might not go, but now, he will definitely go. The Piao Miao fairy spirit spoke. Zhang Chen's strength is already invincible to his peers in the heaven realm. If he continues to stay in the heaven realm, it will be difficult for Zhang Chen to make breakthrough progress. From ancient times to the present, there has never been that peerless powerhouse. Those who grow up in comfort. Only after countless blood and battles can they continue to break through the limits and reach the peak. It is impossible for the Taisha Demon Sect and the ancient heavenly court not to see this. Naturally, they will not trap Zhang Chen. In heaven. The fifth ancestral land. In an ancient magic palace. The third ancestor, the seventh ancestor, the 12th ancestor. Two young women with graceful figures, as beautiful as flowers and jade, saluted respectfully. These two young women have fair skin, beautiful appearance and pure temperament, like green lotuses, emerging from the mud but unstained. But there is a hint of light in those clear eyes. It has a charming meaning that can enchant all living beings. People look at it and can't help but sink into it. Your trip to Gu Yuan Fairyland has two purposes. The first is to protect Taisha Matzi and prevent him from being killed by other sections. The second is to find a way to bring the Taisha demon son back to the ancestral land, but do not have any grudge against him. The three demonic figures said straight to the point. Can't make grudges. Just can't be brought back by force. After hearing this, Lu Caier and Lu Wire looked at each other, doubts flickering in their bright eyes. They seemed to not quite understand the meaning of the three ancestors' words. If you want to bring someone back with brute force, then it won't be your sister's turn to take action, just let Tianwu go. The three demonic ancestors did not reveal Zhang Chen's identity, but said this. Understood. Lu Caier and Lu Wire immediately understood. They wanted them to use charm to bring Zhang Chen back to their ancestral land. It wouldn't be difficult for a young boy to trick him back. Wanyu. In a deserted and dead starfield. The void was torn apart, and an invisible creature wearing a black robe stepped out of the air. But the character on the creature's black robe is quite eye-catching, as it seems to be condensed by the laws of the great Dao. A moment later, as the void continued to vibrate, more figures in black robes gathered together. There were 9 people in total. On each person's black robe, there is an ancient Chinese character called Dao, which goes from to dot. The news has confirmed that the ancient immortal court did appear in the heavenly realm because of Taisha Demon's son. The creature with the word that appeared first spoke, his voice a little childish, like a young man. This is not a good sign. When the other creatures heard this, they all had unmistakable Taoist fluctuations on their bodies, and they seemed to be quite shocked. Indeed, we paid such a heavy price to end the ancient immortal court. If a descendant of the ancient immortal court appears in this life, then the black-robed creature with the character on its back spoke in a deep voice. Although his words were not spoken, the other black-robed creatures understood the meaning. Although the ancient immortal court was destroyed, the inheritance of the ancient immortal court still exists. Many of the ancient creatures that came out of the ancient immortal courtyard in the past are still alive in the world. Once a new descendant appears in the ancient immortal court, the creatures of the ancient immortal court who were originally at odds with each other are likely to reunite. By that time, the entire universe will be integrated. This is definitely not alarmist. If it were anyone else, even if they were recognized by the ancient immortal court, they would not be such a big threat. But that Taisha Demon's son was different. He is not only the holy son of Taisha Demon's son, but also the descendant of the ancient heaven. It can be said that in the current Tianyu, Taisha Demon's son is respected. In addition, the Taisha devil is also a creature of the 5th ancestral land, one of the 9 ancestral lands. Now the 5th ancestral land intends to welcome him back and make him the successor of the 5th ancestral land. If Zhang Chen gets the inheritance from the ancient immortal court again, he will become the heir of the ancient immortal court. Then the status of those ancient creatures in the ancient immortal court in the immortal realm must be enough to shake the immortal realm. One person is involved in the 2 major regions with the strongest foundation among the 10 major regions, and also has involvement in the 9 ancestral lands. This has never happened before in the history of all heavens and realms. Once the immortal realm and the heavenly realm form an alliance, the 9 ancestral lands will also help. Then it is not impossible for the entire universe to be integrated and joined together. This time in Guyuan Wonderland is an opportunity, we can take advantage of it and get rid of this kid. The 9 black-robed creatures, after some discussion, all have their sights set on the opening of the ancient Yuan Fairyland. This time in the ancient Yuan Fairyland, not only the Taoist order of the immortal domain is eyeing Zhang Chen, but other major domains are also ready to take action. Such a chaotic situation, the situation is a perfect opportunity for them. Ancient Heaven. This time, Xianyu learned to be smart. Hearing that Guyuan Fairyland was opened, the Lord of Heaven seemed to laugh. This is normal. From the ancient city to the ancient battlefield, in just a few months, Zhang Chen's strength has changed completely. If it continues, even the boy from the immortal family will be unable to compare with him. The lazy young man also said with a smile. For Xian Wudao of the immortal family, even in the ancient heavenly palace, they attach great importance to it. Because looking at the entire history of the immortal realm, Xian Wudao's qualifications can be regarded as only a handful. Before Zhang Chen was born, no one in the entire heaven could match him. But now that Zhang Chen is here, they are not afraid at all. Zhang Chen's talent is definitely not weaker than Xian Wudao. Fantasy, Invincible from the Holy Son of the Demon Section Author, 10 miles. Chapter 77. At this time, Heavenly Court Road Pond. Zhang Chen, who was sitting cross-legged and refining the endless laws of the great Dao, had chaotic Dao patterns all over his body. Wisps of chaotic fairy light flickered from those chaotic Dao patterns, bright and dazzling. A powerful and terrifying pressure swept over Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen did not deliberately exude coercion, but his power was still several levels more terrifying than before. Suanzun Realm, 4th level. After being baptized in the Dao Pond for less than 2 months, Zhang Chen's cultivation level continued to make breakthroughs and he had entered the Suanzun realm. After the Chaos God body transformed into the Chaos Dao body, Zhang Chen's qualifications had already undergone a huge transformation. Coupled with the help of this Dao Pond, it is normal to break through to the 4th level of Suanzun realm in one fell swoop. It can even be said that if you continue to practice, it will not be difficult to break through the Tianzun realm. After all, Zhang Chen no longer has any bottlenecks in his cultivation realm. His current cultivation is just to continue to accumulate cultivation and then make a breakthrough. Call. After slowly exhaling a breath of chaotic energy, Zhang Chen stood up and left the ancient Dao Pond. The ancient Yuan immortal realm has been opened, and this is a great opportunity for him to slaughter the fat sheep. You know, like the ancient Yuan immortal realm, together with the secret realms of the immortal realm and the heavenly realm, this is the only one. If you miss this opportunity, you will have to wait a long time if you want to plunder the fortune of the immortal realm genius. Just like last time, those who directly enter the immortal ancient city, there will never be another chance. If he appears in the immortal realm again now, he will definitely be attacked by those old monsters. This is by no means an exaggeration. Now the fear of him in the world has reached the point where he can be quickly eliminated. The point. Whoosh. Just as Zhang Chen left the Dao Pond, a ray of fairy light fell from the sky. The next moment, Zhang Chen's figure appeared in a glorious fairy palace. On the main seat, the Lord of Heaven sat peacefully, next to him is the lazy young man. The top 10 geniuses stand respectfully. In addition, Bailey Fixian and Jean Woody are also on the list. Meet the Son of God. Seeing Zhang Chen's arrival, the top 10 geniuses bowed respectfully to Zhang Chen. Little Lord. Bailey Fixian also looked at Zhang Chen. But what surprised Zhang Chen was that Jean Woody also saluted after him. There was a slight tremor. On the chaotic light mirror of Zhang Chen's soul sea, a series of names appeared in the ranks of followers. It is the top 10 sequences in heaven and the invincible battle. Emperor. Zhang Chen waved his hand slightly and looked at the Lord of Heaven above the main seat. The immortal realm forcibly opened the ancient Yuan immortal realm, and many top Taoist heirs entered the immortal realm. There are also many Taoist traditions involved in the 10 directions domain and the 9 ancestral lands, so this trip is quite risky. The Lord of Heaven did not talk nonsense, went straight to the topic, and told the story of the ancient Yuan fairyland. Danger is relative. Since they want to die, I will help them. Zhang Chen spoke calmly, not having much trouble about this. He was not arrogant, he was just telling the truth. With his current combat power, even the younger generation in the immortal realm, few people can match it. In the ancient city of Immortal, he failed to win his luck and origin. This time, no one who is targeted by him can even think of escaping. The opening of Gu Yuan Wonderland this time is a good opportunity for experience, so you should take them with you. When the Lord of Heaven heard this, a smile appeared in his eyes, and then he said, "This is also the reason why the top 10 geniuses, Bailey Fixian and Jean Invincible, gathered here." Good. Zhang Chen nodded and did not refuse. Regardless of the top 10 sequences, Bailey Fixian and Jean Woody, they have all reached the late stage of the Supreme Realm. If you are lucky, you might be able to take the opportunity to advance to the Suanzun realm this time. With that, with the qualifications of the 10 great sequences and Bailey Fixian, this is very possible. Boom. After that, the Lord of Heaven waved his sleeves, and a vast and unparalleled immortal power was emitted. I saw, in the immortal palace in the center, an ancient portal filled with fairy patterns appears, and the fairy light shines freely. Open. As the Lord of Heaven shouted, the ancient teleportation gate slowly opened. Behind the teleportation gate, a mysterious and vast mysterious world appeared, with an ancient and vast aura exuding. There was the ancient Yuan wonderland. Zhang Chen and the others did not hesitate, and in a flash, they broke into the teleportation gate. Whoa! Almost the moment Zhang Chen and the others entered the teleportation gate, a magic light broke through the sky. The Lord of Heaven and the lazy young man, he sensed it momentarily, but did not take any action. That magic light was an eyeless raven that was completely black. It was one of the incarnations of the nine-demon old man. Zhang Chen has already entered the ancient Yuan fairyland. After the old man nine demons arrived, he looked at the ancient portal. What's wrong? The Lord of Heaven nodded and asked. Phew! The old man of the nine demons did not speak. With a movement of his wings, a ray of magic light penetrated into the portal. Transmission symbol. The lazy young man, with his condensed eyes, saw what that magic light was. It seems that the news is true, the fifth ancestral land has also sent people into Gu Yuan fairyland. The Lord of Heaven's eyes flashed slightly, and he guessed what the old man of the nine demons was transmitting. Did you already know this? The old man nine demons was slightly startled, as if he didn't expect that Gu Tianting already knew about Zhang Chen's life experience. There's nothing strange about this. The Lord of the Heavenly Court and the lazy young man stood calmly. With their background in the ancient Heavenly Court, it would not be difficult to find out Zhang Chen's life experience. After all, their duty in the ancient Heavenly Court was to protect the heavenly territory and serve as heavenly domain cultivates top powerhouses. As for the descendants of Heavenly Court in past generations, it is natural to investigate clearly. Of course, when they first learned that Zhang Chen was a creature from the fifth ancestral land, ancient Heavenly Court was also extremely surprised. They were considering whether to give up. When Zhang Chen came, Zhang Chen went to the immortal realm and made a big fuss. Such invincible talent completely made Gu Tianting give up the idea of wavering. Even if Zhang Chen is a creature from the ancestral land, he has to become their ancient heaven. Descendants of. I heard that the fifth ancestral land has plans to bring Zhang Chen back. What are your plans? After that, the Lord of Heaven looked at the nine demons' old man. An ancient saying goes, once a teacher, always a father. Zhang Chen's feelings for the nine demons' old man are different from others. This can be clearly seen from Zhang Chen's attitude 1 or 2. Naturally, the nine demon old man should be able to influence Zhang Chen's decision. If they are sincere and let Zhang Chen become the successor of the fifth ancestral land, then of course they can. The old man nine demons is very open-minded about this. He is not worried about Zhang Chen being abducted by Gu Tianting, and naturally he is not afraid that Zhang Chen will be taken away by the fifth ancestor. You know, Zhang Chen used to be the fifth ancestor. Sacrifice. If he hadn't saved it with all his life, Zhang Chen would have disappeared into the world long ago. Therefore, if the fifth ancestor wanted Zhang Chen to go back, he would have to ask him to persuade him. The reason why he came in such a hurry, they just didn't want Zhang Chen to kill the people of the fifth ancestral land. The Lord of Heaven and the lazy young man looked at each other and felt relieved. It seems that the Taisha demon sect has already made plans for this matter. However, if it is true as the nine demon old man said, Zhang Chen becomes the descendant of the fifth ancestral land, then the power Zhang Chen can control would be too terrifying. The Taisha demon sect, the ancient heaven, and the fifth ancestral land are still there is that mysterious ancient fairy court. Fantasy, Invincible from the Holy Son of the Demon Section author, 10 miles. Chapter 78. Call. On the vast land, there is a violent destruction of Taoism, like a tornado and hurricane sweeping across, bringing with it boundless wind and sand. In the distant land, there are the bones of ferocious beasts as big as mountains, as well as dilapidated ancient soldiers tens of millions of feet in size. Under the wind and sand of the earth, there are countless white bones, like Shura Purgatory. An everlasting fighting spirit fills this world. This is the Taxian battlefield. Rumor has it that it is one of the oldest immortal sects in the immortal domain and the location of the Taxian Holy Land. Later, it suffered a catastrophe and the entire Holy Land was wiped out. Jean Woody has been to the ancient Yuen fairyland before, and his understanding of the conditions in the fairyland is far better than that of Zhang Chen and others. Judging from the aura of immortal magic, this ancient battlefield may have appeared in the early days of the ancient immortality. After Bailey Fixian sensed it with a secret method, a look of shock appeared on his face. From this ancient battlefield, he sensed wisps of extremely terrifying aura. Those terrifying auras were at the true immortal level at their weakest, and there are fluctuations of the immortal king and the immortal emperor. The auras of those fluctuations are extremely chaotic, colliding with each other, and full of destruction. Obviously, the immortal creatures who have fallen here have definitely reached an astonishing number. I am afraid that such a shocking battle will not be weak. As a result, Immortal Ancient was in turmoil. However, there was no ancient book in their heavenly domain that recorded this. Obviously, this was a person who had the means to reach the sky and completely covered up this war. I don't know what happened in the first place. What a shocking event happened here. The fifth ancestral land. At this time, Zhang Chen's mind was focused on the transmission notes passed to him by his master. When he heard that the fifth ancestral land might come to him and that if the other party was not hostile, he should not kill him, something strange appeared in Zhang Chen's eyes. This was the first time since he left the demon sect that he heard his master specifically remind him. You know, no matter who he met in the past, his master always looked like he was not afraid of the sky falling, so he asked him to let go. For this reason. Even that time when he undoubtedly broke into the immortal realm, his master did not let him go back immediately. What is so special about this fifth ancestral land that his master cares so much about it? Let's go. After pondering for a moment, Zhang Chen calmed down. Since it was his master's order, he would take a look first. If the fifth ancestor has no ill intentions, then he should leave them alone for the time being. But if there is any ill will, then yes, if you can't hold back, everyone will die. After sensing with the secret method, Zhang Chen took Bailey Fixian and others and flew in a certain direction. The Lord of Heaven once said that in the ancient Yuen fairyland, there is a secret inheritance from the same ancient immortal. Related opportunities. Naturally, Zhang Chen urged the ancient immortals to understand, so as to sense the opportunities in the fairyland. As for the fat sheep in the fairyland, he didn't have to look for them personally, they would also come to his door. Because of the ancient fairyland, sky was originally from the immortal realm, in order to deal with the killing plan planned by him. Just as Zhang Chen expected, the creatures from all realms in the ancient Yuen immortal realm all took action. Regarding the heaven and earth spiritual treasures in the immortal realm, those Taoists no living thing even looked at it. They were constantly searching for Zhang Chen's location using secret techniques, deductions, or divination. Outside of the ancient Yuen fairyland, the Taoist traditions of each major domain used secret techniques to manifest the traditions of their respective successors. Scene. The ancient Yuen fairyland is quite special. Even with the means of the top Taoist traditions in each domain, it is impossible to perceive the situation in the ancient Yuen fairyland. Therefore, they can only see the scenes in the manifested fairyland through their respective descendants. Is this right here? At this time, following the faint breath, Zhang Chen and others left the Taxian battlefield. After crossing the endless realm, they came to a ruins of a dilapidated kingdom of God. This ruins of kingdom of God were filled with their own, the breath of time that remains from the extremely ancient era. The breath of ancient times is even older than the previous Taxian battlefield. It is as if it is left over from the Wuxian era. After carefully sensing it, Zhang Chen came to God in the center of the country, in front of a half-collapsed temple. There was a buzzing sound. As Zhang Chen fell, the temple, which was originally stained with dust and motionless, suddenly started to tremble. A series of ancient mysterious immortal Tao that contained the ultimate Tao method. The patterns, with the temple as the center, were diffuse and intertwined, like a spider web. In an instant, an ancient enchantment formation was condensed and covered the entire temple. What a terrible smell! At this moment, the top 10 orders in the heaven, Bailey Fixian and Jean Woody, all changed their colors in horror and couldn't help but retreat. In their perception, what appeared was not a barrier formation, but a supreme statue. Fierce demons. If they step into the magic circle, their bodies and souls will be destroyed in an instant, and they will die without a burial place. The strong and clear sense of danger and death will make the hairs on their bodies stand on end. You guys wait here. Even Zhang Chen's pair of mysterious and profound eyes with thousands of runes are slightly solemn. There is no doubt that this collapsed temple definitely hides some unparalleled opportunities, and it is still inherited from the ancient immortals. It doesn't matter. Of course, judging from the dangerous aura of destruction, the opportunity in this temple may not be easy to come by. Ancient heaven. Could that be the ancient temple of the seven immortals? Looking at the dilapidated temple that appeared on the immortal monument, the Lord of Heaven, the nine-demon old man, and the lazy young man all looked moved. Zhang Chen and other young people did not recognize the dilapidated temple. But those who have lived for countless years, however, they clearly know the origin of the ruined temple. The Seven Immortals Ancient Temple is the Taoist tradition created by the seven original ancient immortals at the end of the Wuxian era. Rumor has it that the Seven Immortals Ancient Temple contains the seven ancient immortals were the shocking secrets when they created the realm of immortality. However, the ancient temple of the seven immortals has always been just a legend, and no one has ever seen it. Unexpectedly, Zhang Chen had just entered the ancient Yuan fairyland for the first time, and encountered such an unparalleled opportunity. Such unfavorable luck is really enviable. Now, as Zhang Chen walked towards the temple boundary, a Chaos Dao seal appeared between his eyebrows. Thousands of looming innate Chaos Dao patterns spread from the Dao seal and swept across his body. After that, a mysterious and unpredictable world of chaos appeared, faintly covering Zhang Chen. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The moment Zhang Chen stepped onto the magic circle, countless strands of destructive immortal energy were slashed out like thousands of fairy swords, overwhelming the sky and the earth. In the blink of an eye, the chaotic world that Zhang Chen manifested they were all pierced by those immortal swords. Son of God. Little Lord. The expressions of the 10 major sequences outside the enchantment formation, Bailey Fixian and Jean Woody, all changed drastically. Judging from the destructive power contained in those sword energies, even the strongest emperors could be easily destroyed. Kill. Bailey Fixian and others were about to sacrifice the ancient immortal treasure and help. The chaotic world that was cut and penetrated was healed again. Zhang Chen's clearly visible steps sounded again, unhurriedly. Walked into the temple. This made Bailey Fixian and others heave a sigh of relief. Even the Lord of the Ancient Heaven, the Nine Demons old man, felt a little relieved. At this moment, Zhang in the chaotic world Chen, was surrounded by a mysterious Dharma appearance. It was none other than one of the 12 ancestral witches, Dezhang Dharma appearance. This was the first time Zhang Chen had merged with Dezhang Dharma appearance since he obtained Dezhang Dharma appearance. Sure enough, the same Dharma appearance as Dezhang Chen had. After the fusion of Dharma and phase, the increased combat power was as terrifying as he expected. My friend, please stop. The moment he entered the temple, an ethereal fairy voice suddenly came. Zhang Chen paused and looked over. An immortal fairy spirit surrounded by fairy light appeared in a condensed form. Those ancient fairy techniques were impressively correct. It's the breath of an ancient immortal. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, Invincible from the Holy Son of the Demon Section Author, 10 miles. Chapter 79. Senior, please forgive me for taking the liberty of visiting. Zhang Chen's eyes narrowed slightly, and after careful insight, he saluted the immortal spirit. This immortal spirit has pure ancient immortal Taoism in it, and is not a simple remnant spirit of the ancient immortal. In other words, what Zhang Chen is facing now, this is a real ancient immortal. Even though Zhang Chen has amazing trump cards, he still feels a little nervous in front of a real ancient immortal. How can a creature that can forcibly become an immortal in the age of no immortals treat it as an ordinary immortal being? My little friend is not a creature of my fairyland. Please leave this place. The immortal fairy looked at Zhang Chen with his misty and deep eyes, and issued an order to expel him. Senior, since I can come here, it means that I am here by chance, right? Zhang Chen didn't expect that this immortal fairy would be so straightforward that he would expel it without saying a word. And with such a shocking opportunity in front of him, it is naturally impossible for Zhang Chen to leave so easily. If he leaves now, it will be tantamount to she-made wedding clothes for people from the immortal realm. This is not what Zhang Chen wants to see. Although I don't know why you can get the origin inheritance, the 7 ancient ancestors once ordered that those who are not from the immortal realm Taoism cannot get the inheritance from the ancient temple. When the immortal fairy heard this, he had no intention of being accommodating. As far as I know, in this life of fairyland, the most outstanding genius came to fairyland a few years ago. Since the senior said that the inheritance here is only given to the Taoism of the immortal domain, why not give the inheritance to him? The person Zhang Chen is talking about is naturally Xian Wuodao. The younger generation in Tianyu respects him. The young geniuses in Xianyu are led by Xian Wuodao. Since the ancient ancestors' prohibition has not been triggered, it means that there is no chance of being with my ancient temple. The immortal fairy said. People from the immortal realm, you say they are not destined, but you are picky about those who are destined. It is not the Taoism of the immortal realm. Zhang Chen chuckled lightly and looked at the immortal fairy. Senior, now that the source of the strangeness is unstable, and evil tribes from outside the world are looming, it is very likely that in this life, there will be an unprecedented disaster. Do you think you still have time to wait for the next great world? Hearing Zhang Chen's words, the immortal creature obviously showed some fluctuations. Obviously, this immortal creature also knows the source of the strangeness and the evil tribe outside the world, and is even quite afraid of it. Everything has its own destiny, and it is up to the people of this world to deal with the calamities of this world. Just when Zhang Chen thought that this immortal fairy was being persuaded, he shook his head and said, "Then there's no way. No matter what you say, you can't do it, so you can only fight." With a thought, a supreme immortal sword appeared in Zhang Chen's hand, and the sword was still stained with immortal blood. A terrifying murderous intention that shook the heaven and earth, it swept forward unscrupulously, seeming to slaughter all the heavens. At this moment, the entire ancient temple shook, and the barrier formation was cracked with cracks. It seemed that it was unbearable to withstand the destruction and killing intent. It was the most precious treasure in the world. The immortal killing sword. This is also the reason why Zhang Chen dared to enter the ancient temple of the 7 immortals. If not for this, even if he could blend in with the ancestral witchcraft, Zhang Chen would not dare to be so unscrupulous. Kill the fairy sword. But what Zhang Chen didn't expect was that the immortal spirit actually recognized the Zuxian sword. His pupils shrank sharply, and he could not hide his horror and fear. He even subconsciously moved away from Zhang Chen, extremely frightened. This made Zhang Chen, I am extremely surprised. The immortal killing sword is the supreme treasure in the mythology of the past life. Why does this immortal fairy recognize the immortal killing sword? Could it be that there have been similar immortal swords in all the worlds? Why, you have the Zuxian sword. When Zhang Chen's thoughts flashed, the immortal spirit spoke in shock and looked at Jiang Chen in confusion. I'm really curious, how could Senior recognize this immortal killing sword? Jiang Chen asked instead without answering. The immortal killing sword is one of the 4 supreme immortal swords in the age of mythology. I have read about it in ancient books. The immortal fairy's eyes flickered, and he answered Jiang Chen's words solemnly. The age of myth? The 4 immortal swords. Hearing the words of the immortal spirit, Jiang Chen couldn't help but be startled. In the mythical era that was destroyed due to the strange source and the appearance of the evil clan from outside the world, there was once the killing immortal sword? And, it was also the 4 killing immortal swords? This made Jiang Chen. There was an extremely strange feeling deep in my heart. Could the era of this world have anything to do with the prehistoric myths of the previous life? Who are you? When Jiang Chen's thoughts were flying around, the immortal fairy looked at Jiang Chen seriously. In a pair of fairy eyes, there were hundreds of millions of fairy lights flashing, as if he wanted to use some secret method to see through Jiang Chen. A person from the heavenly realm not only merged with he knew the origin of the immortal Dao, and he still had the immortal killing sword in his hand. This made the immortal creature completely confused about the origin of Jiang Chen. Just an ordinary person with good luck. Jiang Chen came back to his senses in an instant and became alert. The secret in his heart is naturally impossible for others to understand. Senior now thinks, am I qualified to receive the inheritance from the ancient temple? After that, Jiang Chen looked at the immortal creature, and tightened his grip on the immortal sword in his hand slightly. If it really doesn't make sense for this immortal creature, then there is nothing he can do. With the killing power of the immortal sword, even if this immortal spirit can avoid Kai, this ancient temple must also be destroyed. Since he can't get the inheritance of this ancient temple, he can't leave it to the people of the immortal realm. Leaving this opportunity to his opponents is leaving potential dangers for the future. Although Chen Chen has an amazing opportunity, he doesn't think that no one can really compare with him. Open. After being silent for a long time, looking at the Zuxian sword for several times, the immortal fairy seemed to have made a decision. After saying this, the fairy light flashed, and an ancient gate of fairy light appeared in the ancient temple. The fairy gate opened, and a mighty immortal temple appears, with 7 dazzling immortal shadows in the temple. Come with me. The immortal spirit said, and stepped into the ancient immortal light gate. Jiang Chen was not afraid and followed him in. Of course, he kept holding the immortal killing sword tightly in his hand without letting go. This immortal spirit, if there is one, for other purposes, he could immediately launch his killing move. However, the immortal fairy just walked silently. After entering the fairy temple, the immortal fairy bowed respectfully to the 7 dazzling fairy figures, walked to the center of the fairy temple. There is an ancient fairy box. The fairy box is blocked by thousands of ancient fairy patterns, and no breath is emitted. The sealed thing in this fairy box is the ancient temple inheritance left by the 7 ancient ancestors. Whether you can get it depends on your luck. The immortal fairy turned around and said to Jiang Chen. After hearing this, Jiang Chen looked carefully with his double pupils and stepped forward. Buzzing. Without hesitation, Jiang Chen reached out and grabbed the ancient fairy box in his hand. Immediately, the 7 dazzling fairy shadows in this glorious fairy temple began to tremble. Immediately afterwards, countless dazzling fairy lights rose into the sky, directly piercing through the secret realm, shaking the entire ancient Yuan fairyland. That is. At this moment, the creatures everywhere in Gu Yuan fairyland all sensed and looked at it one after another. When they saw the dazzling fairy pillar that soared into the sky and went straight into the 9 heavens, the creatures in all realms were shocked. Not only that, the expressions of all the Taoists from all realms outside the fairyland changed and it was difficult to calm down. Fantasy, Invincible from the Holy Son of the Demon Section author, 10 miles. Chapter 80. Is the inheritance of the seven immortals' ancient temple really hidden in the ancient UN fairyland? Especially those ancient giants. From that fairy light, they sensed a Taoism that was even purer than that passed down by the ancient immortals. This immediately made them think of the seven Taoist laws that had been circulated in the ancient UN fairyland. Rumors about the ancient immortal temple. Could it be that it's Taisha demon's son again? Almost instantly, Zhang Chen's figure appeared in the minds of those ancient giants. A few years ago, Xian Wuodao once entered the ancient UN fairyland, but got a world-shattering opportunity. However, it did not trigger the inheritance of the seven immortals' ancient temple. Since even immortal Wuodao has not triggered inheritance, it is impossible for him to be a person from the immortal realm Dao lineage. Naturally, they immediately thought of Zhang Chen. Tianyu. Zhang Chen got the inheritance from the seven immortals' ancient temple. Due to the barrier formation of the seven immortals' ancient temple, the Lord of Heaven could no longer see Zhang Chen's scene. He immediately used a secret method to look at Bailey Fixian and others. When he saw the sky above the seven immortals' ancient temple, the ray of light soared into the sky. When the heaven-reaching immortal light rose, the three lords of heaven all looked moved. They were still worried before that Zhang Chen would encounter any danger. After all, it was the rumored seven immortals' ancient temple, and its background was far beyond their imagination. Who would have thought that in such a short period of time, there would be such a movement in the seven immortals' ancient temple? Fifth ancestral land. This boy's luck is so amazing, could he be the one destined by fate? On the ancient altar, the three figures with magic light also saw the vision of the ancient UN fairyland. This also made the three figures with magic light feel strong emotions and marvel. First, it was the inheritance of the ancient immortal, and then it's the ancient immortal court, and now it's the seven immortals' ancient temple. If any one of these amazing opportunities is triggered, it's already great luck. But Zhang Chen, triggering them one after another, is such luck. It's so scary that it scares people to death. This also makes the three figures of magic light more and more certain of their previous decision. Even if they are tied up, Zhang Chen must be kidnapped back to their fifth ancestral land. The first ancestral land. In a fairy palace dazzling with fairy light. A young figure sitting cross-legged and meditating, wearing colorful fairy clothes, slowly opened his eyes. In the young man's eyes, there was a flash of colorful fairy light, and vaguely, there was a five-colored fairy bird, which disappeared in a flash. This fluctuation. The young figure tilted his head slightly, looking in a certain direction, as if he was sensing something. Almost at the same time, the void shook slightly. A graceful figure, whose whole body was shrouded in fairy light, came stepping on the fairy light. The fifth descendant of the ancient immortal court appeared in the heavenly realm. That graceful figure has an ethereal voice, like a fairy from the nine heavens, sweet and crisp. The age of great strife is finally here. The young man heard this and murmured to himself, then slowly closed his eyes and fell into meditation. The 10th ancestral land. An ancient island that is as big as 10,000 feet is suspended above the sea, surrounded by hundreds of millions of stars. At a glance, it looks like a bright moon surrounded by thousands of stars, mysterious and unpredictable. The five seals merge into one, and the immortal court reappears. The battle of the immortal court is finally here. On the top of the ancient island, a tall creature spoke slowly. On this creature, an ancient true dragon that merged with the void was sleeping. The underworld. There are dozens of ancient palaces in a lifeless star field. Those ancient palaces are arranged in yin and yang tai chi formations. In the center of the yin-yang tai chi diagram is an ancient bronze pagoda. In the ancient bronze tower, a young man with white hair looked towards the endless starry sky. The battle for the fate of the gods appears together with the position of the heir to the immortal court. This life is getting more and more interesting. Fairyland. The end of a certain no man's land. There is a villa isolated from the world. Thatched huts, small streams, and fields of willow trees are like a paradise. An ordinary young man lying quietly on a willow tree with a piece of grass in his mouth suddenly opened his eyes. Unexpectedly, this last person actually fell into the sky. There was a sense of surprise in the words of the ordinary young man. He had always believed that the final successor position would fall to Cien Wuodeo of the Cien family. But he did not expect that he would be killed by Tianyu halfway. The person cut off the Hu. Mr. Liu, it seems that your deduction skills are not perfect yet. After that, the ordinary young man raised his head and said to the old willow tree with 3,000 willow silks swaying lightly. That boy from Tianyu is a bit weird, you'd better not be careless. On the old willow tree, an old face appeared, saying with a serious tone. Being able to intercept the opportunity of Cien Wuodeo, that boy from Tianyu will naturally not be immortal. As for carelessness, well, it depends on him whether he can make me take it seriously. The ordinary young man, with a cynical smile on his face, lay down lazily with his eyes closed. It was obvious that the ordinary young man did not take Zhang Chen into his eyes. In other words, he had no regard for the genius of the whole world. Don't care. Ancient Yuan Wonderland. 7 Immortals Ancient Temple. What does it mean? Zhang Chen, who opened the fairy box, looked at the contents of the fairy box and looked at the immortal fairy in confusion. In the fairy box, there was an ancient seal as big as a palm. But this ancient seal, but it was obviously mutilated, as if it had been chopped into several pieces. This is the imperial seal of the ancient immortal court. During the battle to destroy the ancient immortal court, it was divided into 5 by the emperor of the immortal court. When the 5 seals were combined into one, they could command the ancient immortal court. That's because Zhang Chen opened the fairy box easily, and the immortal fairy who was shocked and stunned took a long time to come back to his senses. When he spoke, the immortal fairy looked at Zhang Chen with a strange expression. It was obviously not a fairyland. Taoism, but it can integrate the origin and inheritance, and can ignore the ancient ancestors' prohibition. Who is this kid? In other words, if you get the complete imperial seal, you can get the inheritance of immortal court. Zhang Chen knows a lot about the affairs of the ancient immortal court from his master and the lord of the heavenly court. Although the ancient immortal court has been destroyed, the immortal court heritage is still there, and there are still many immortal court beings alive. If he can, those ancient creatures who command the immortal court will gain extremely astonishing, terrifying power. That's right. Among the 5 imperial seals, the other 4 have already had successors, and you are the last one. In other words, you have to fight with other imperial seal inheritances to get the 5 imperial seals. The immortal fairy said. Who are the other successors of the emperor's seal? Zhang Chen asked. I have no way of knowing this. The immortal fairy shook his head. The universe is vast and boundless, and if they can't hide, wouldn't it mean that they will never be able to unite the 5 seals into one? If it's a normal prosperous age, you can always find it if you search slowly. The problem is that in this life, the source of strangeness and the evil tribes outside the territory are unstable, but there is no time, and it is slowly running out. Like you, they also want to command the immortal court, so they will not hide and cannot hide. When the time comes, they will appear naturally. The immortal fairy said, and spots of fairy light emerged on his body, and his body became more and more transparent. Obviously, the duty of this immortal fairy is to guard the immortal box emperor seal. Now that the successor has appeared, his duty has been completed. After a moment, the immortal fairy spirit dissipated, leaving only a group of crystal fairy light.